What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm one of your hosts and producers, joined by my other co-host, Banks. What's going on, Brody?
Look, the line going back a little bit, so I got to do this. I got to
Bro,
do
I'm in
this.
the same boat. I'm in the same boat. We 30, so we got to do what we can.
Hey man,
You
listen, that's
understand?
what I'm saying. I'm on my LeBron tour right now. I don't even care.
Yeah, it'd be like that, bro. I may have to pull a you and go bald one of these days if I don't grow this out. Like it's a healthy medium. Like my hair situation is a healthy medium. Either I could grow this out and it could be everything that God intended it to be, or I just keep getting haircuts because I don't want to look like a bum every 2 weeks. And like I can't grow it back. But that's a totally different story for a totally different day. But thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode. Once again, if you're on Apple or Spotify podcast, be sure to give the show a 5 stars, to subscribe as well. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show, to the pod. There's been a lot going on in wrestling this week, a lot to talk about, a lot to speak on as it pertains to this week with AEW All In London. But we're going to not waste any more time and we're going to get right into it. All right, so boom. First thing is first. The G1 Climax has just concluded, and Zack Sabre Jr. is the official winner of the G1 Climax. The G1 Climax, for those of you who are not aware, is New Japan's arguably biggest. Well, it's not arguably. It's their biggest tournament. It is the equivalent of their Royal Rumble in the sense that the winner of it goes on to Wrestle Kingdom to challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. And so the winner is Zack Sabre Jr., who has actually been on Ring of Honor, who has actually been on AEW programming all within the last year. And he represents TMDK. The reason why this is such of interest to me is because it feels like New Japan has lacked star power. However, if I were to pick a star, Zack Sabre Jr., I think can be considered a star for New Japan. Do you feel like this is a turning point for New Japan as far as them kind of reestablishing their star power in the wrestling marketplace?
Zack Sabre Jr., great worker. No personality. I like him. Uh, this is New Japan doing as they usually do. They hire in. I forgot the term that they use for an outsider in Japan, but they using another white man to try to get over. I got to throw the race card out there, but it's evident. I mean, look at it, Jay White, etc. Uh, he's a good worker, but at the same time, they got 5 people over there. So it's kind of like by default we had to go with Zack Sabre Jr. because we don't have too many other people to, the Ibushis and everybody's kind of, well, Koda's not there anymore, obviously, but Tasani, I'm messing up his name.
Tanahashi?
Tanahashi, there we go. Hey man, y'all gotta forgive me. I'm on 2 hours of sleep. Tanahashi, my guy, he about 45 with no knees. So by default they had to go with him. Is it a smart choice? It's the only choice they had at that time.
I do want to kind of piggyback off of that. I agree that Zack Sabre Jr. was the only choice. It sucks because I feel like there are a lot of times in pro wrestling where somebody feels like the only choice and it kind of discredits how good they are. I think one of the prime examples was in '01 when Jericho won the undisputed title. And it was like Stone Cold Rock, Jericho. And Jericho was kind of like, Vince, according to Jericho, Vince kind of like consider him like, oh, well, you're kind of like the only one left, something within that vein. And it kind of took away, unfortunately, from how the public perceived Chris Jericho because of how good he is as an in-ring talent. And I would say the same thing with Zack Sabre Jr. I feel like the unfortunate part of this is the fact that he is a great in-ring performer. I mean, he went bell to bell with Bryan Danielson, and it was one of the best matches that I've ever seen. And so to kind of be in a position where you're like seen as like, oh, he's the only guy that we can, it kind of almost in a way positions them as like you are the guy that is the guy because we don't really have any guys left. And for someone who is that talented, I think that that's just super unfortunate. So I think I want to get that out the way. Number 2, I do think that you're right. New Japan has a habit of taking, especially over the past 10 to 12 years, just taking guys who are not from Japan and making them a main eventer or a form of a top guy, whether that's, whether that is Zack Sabre Jr., whether it at one point was David Finlay Jr., at another point it was Jay White, at another point it was AJ Styles, at another point it was Finn Balor,
Rico's
Kenny,
kid, they was hoping to get something out of him. Pause.
right? So, I mean, Kenny Omega. And by the way, all these guys are great. All of these guys are, in my opinion, first ballot. Well, if there is no New Japan Hall of Fame, but they're first ballot Hall of Famers as it pertains to the caliber of wrestlers these guys are. But I mean, I feel like New Japan has always, especially in the past 10 years, with the exception of Okada and Tanahashi, they've always relied on guys that weren't from Japan to kind of bring in a non-casual, or I should say a more casual audience, even with Chris Jericho, right? So I think that is something that is a little bit unfortunate, but I feel like Zach has the potential, if he were to lean in to, his personality, or lean into kind of who he was outside of the ring. I feel like he can be a star. And it also just depends on the trajectory of TMDK and how they book the rest of the faction, right? Like, I feel like anytime a top guy or a world title contender is in a position to, kind of take over, I feel like a very, very big component of their individual success is also the success of the people around them, because that is what frames the faction as being important, right? We can talk about Zach and TMDK. We can talk about Will Ospreay and the United Empire. We can talk about Finn and AJ when it came to Bullet Club. And so whenever they were on top, it wasn't just like, it's just me. No. All the guys that I roll with are top guys in whatever division that they're in. And I feel like that matters too. So I feel like there's a lot of factors that evolve to see if this is going to be a turning point for New Japan, because, the moment that I saw them leasing the Bullet Club intellectual property to to TNA and to AEW, I was like, oh, something ain't up, because those are things that you normally keep to yourself. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But let us know how you feel about Zack Sabre Jr. winning the G1 Climax, and he is headed to Wrestle Kingdom to challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. But we're moving on to some WWE news, because this past weekend, WWE invaded New York City at the Jacob Javits Center for Fanatics Fest. It was the first annual Fanatics Fest. But the big headline here is that WWE won big. They had multiple autograph signings. They had multiple kind of panel discussions, and WWE was the only organization to sell out of all their events, or to kind of like run out of tickets for all their kind of related events. And because Fanatics is pretty much connected with every major league, every North American major league, the fact that the NBA was there, the MLB was represented, and NFL, NHL, whatever was represented at this festival, and WWE came out on top, I think it says a lot. But I wanted to know how you felt about this.
So for SummerSlam, that venue, which is in Ohio, I think it's the Browns Arena. Mm-hmm. Apparently, the Stones did $42,000. If y'all unaware, Rolling Stones, 42,000 people. I think WWE did 67,000. It's just at an all-time high. You got people our age, people that's older, people that's younger, that are watching. Now, I'm gonna say the two names as to why people are watching. Three names. Like, I'm not a huge Cody Rhodes fan, but I do give him his props. Yes. But I will say, actually, no, four or five people, really, realistically, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill included. But if we want to talk about the top two people, with Cody being three, that got people back into wrestling, number one is The Rock. Like, nobody could tell me The Rock coming back this year was not effective. You're lying to me, because it's older people that used to watch wrestling. Like, The Rock back? Bet, I'm going to watch it. All them appearances he was doing in Utah when he was cutting them hilarious shoot promos. Yeah, I watched them promos like Tupac music videos. Some of the funniest stuff ever. I go back and watch them promos earlier this year, and I know it's going to be more hilarious when they start the Roman versus The Rock stuff, because he's going to call him all type of different type of names. And then the second name, I just said it, is Roman Reigns. So those two guys, besides Cody, Bianca, and Jade, I feel like got people more involved than ever. So that being there, and it's selling out makes all the sense in the world. Now they got Travis Scott doing Fiend to be, WrestleMania 41 soundtrack. Hey man, they need to get I Show Speed, who was there. They need to get him in the PC. That I think me and you have talked about that kid. I've talked about that kid numerous times. He's not a normal human being,
He's
and I
not.
feel like we need that match versus Randy Orton too.
I to kind of piggyback off of that, I Show Speed has the potential to be the next Logan Paul as it pertains to WWE. The guy is, he's polarizing to say the least, but the guy is super athletic. He has the energy. He has a must-watch factor. And I think that that's super compelling. Like, bro did a standing backflip on stage in front of Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Bro is fearless. And the fact that bro really took probably one of the most brutal RKOs I've ever seen, because that was straight to the floor. Like, nope. And he talked about it. He was like, yo, bro, I was knocked out. Like, but the guy has no fear and he's super athletic. So I feel like WWE needs to keep an eye on I Show Speed, no pun intended.
Them two
As it
Lamborghini
pertains,
jumps that told me everything I need to know.
bro, he gets up. He gets up. He's crazy. And you also got to think about this. Like, he's getting older. You know what I mean? And a lot of the sensationalist centric stuff that he did when he was like a little bit younger, it's like he has the intangibles to produce that again. But I feel like he needs to be able to bring it into a realm where that can work for him on a bigger scale and on a bigger level. WWE is that bigger scale and that bigger level. So I think that that's something to kind of pay attention to. When it comes to WWE Fanatics Fest, this is something that I feel like is a business principle in entertainment. It's not about the followers you have, it's about the fans who show up. The reason why Michael Rubin is big on WWE is because WWE fans, wrestling fans, show up and they show out. You can when we talk about the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, they pack out stadiums, they pack out arenas, right? That's not a surprise. But when it comes to these other activities that are more outside of the stadium, outside of the arena, WWE fans are showing up in certain contexts and environments where other fans are not showing up. And so that makes WWE as a property valuable, but it also makes the pro wrestling industry as a whole more valuable. And so Michael Rubin talked about it. He was like, man, obviously the WWE is not as big as the NFL, but this is a really, really special group. And I feel like because they showed up and they showed out this time around, I feel like this means only bigger and better things for them moving forward, especially when it comes to their relationship with Fanatics. Like, you already saw the product was being advertised out the roof. These legacy belts with the teams on them, those are about to fly off the shelves for basketball season, football season, hockey season. Like, those belts are about to go crazy. But to the fact that they were able to kind of thrive in that environment, like you said, like you saw Travis Scott come out as Rey Mysterio's tag team partner. You saw Lil Baby take a picture with Triple H. Like, WWE is as big as it's ever been, and it is. I think it's The Rock. I think it's Roman Reigns. I think it's Jade. I think it's Bianca. But I think more importantly than all of that, I just feel like the product and the storytelling is better than it has been in recent memory. And so I think that it doesn't matter the talent that you have if you're not utilizing them in roles that best suit them and where they are, then it's worthless. And it's kind of also like a perfect storm, right? Like, Roman just came back. Rock is still obviously plugged into the WWE product, but then you have Punk, who is pretty much a WWE ambassador at this point, talking about how they can get paid days off, and like the fact that he has a positive reputation. I think that all of these things are creating the perfect storm to see a resurgence in WWE so that they can do well at a place like Fanatic Fest. But that's my whole thing. But I want to know how y'all feel about WWE Fanatics Fest. Let us know in the comments below about how you felt about their recent successes. But we're going to be moving on. We're going to be moving on to a guy who just became a free agent, Bobby Lashley. But it's not to talk about his contract status or kind of his comments pertaining to WWE or the lack thereof. Totally Harmless Concept, which is a company owned by MVP. Totally Harmless Concept LLC filed a trademark on the Hurt Syndicate after Bobby Lashley became a free agent. Now, this can apply to multiple things. this can apply to a new faction. And I mean, they've been very vocal about wanting the Hurt Business to be revived in WWE. It seems like this IP is going to be brought into another wrestling company and seen as a faction. So I want to know how you feel about this. Number one, if it can be successful in another wrestling company. And if you were to pick one guy outside of WWE to be a new member of this faction, who would it be?
Uh, if they had a Booker over there, this would be great for AEW. I say that because obviously y'all see the product every week, so they wouldn't even know what to do with this. I mean, obviously you'll let MVP and Bobby Lashley come up with the concepts because that's what they let all the workers do. You just do whatever you want. So if they do whatever they want and get allowed TV time, because that's the other factor with AEW. If I like you, I give you TV time, Britt Baker. If I don't like you, you won't get no TV time. Everybody else. But if they were given TV time for this, with that name involved, they could put Leo Rush in it. Powerhouse Hobbs ain't doing nothing. They can get him. Scorpio Sky, they can get him as well. Just everybody that's not doing anything, which is 98% of their workers, you can get them involved because Syndicate is bigger than a business. Syndicate sounds like heels. It sounds like some guys that's, is Syndicate. So it sounds very dark. And I think, no pun intended. So I think they definitely should go that route. If they go to Japan, because MVP was in that going to Japan, probably do the same thing just because New Japan and AEW have that, the camaraderie with each other. But I think
Mhm.
this definitely works. More than likely they go into AEW because again it's Tony Khan. I got a checkbook. I'm with some old WWE guys, and we're gonna talk about that as well. Uh, Come through. But again, they got to be able to let them cook and be on TV because if they do it, it'll instantly be the most indicating, the most entertaining thing in AEW by default. And
Mhm.
also, you'll get people that look like us to watch again.
Heavy on that. I would say Leo Rush is a good selection, like you said. Scorpio Sky is a good selection, like you said. Another wrestler to consider in the AEW Ring of Honor pipeline is Lee Moriarty. I think that he is someone who is super technically sound, and depending on his presentation, is someone that you can kind of integrate into that business mob boss kind of heel kind of type of faction. If they were to go to Impact Wrestling, if they were to work with TNA on some stuff, I could see a guy like a Jonathan Gresham being a part um, of a faction like that. Once again, it's just about like placement. I don't know who they would incorporate from New Japan though. I don't know who they would tap into for that role, but I do believe that as far
Bad
as the
luck.
success, who
And bad luck, Fele.
bad luck
Probably.
Fale. But here's the thing: it
Yeah.
depends on who. If they tap into AEW and they get an enforcer from AEW, um, I think that what you call it. Yeah, I think that if they get somebody from AEW, like if they get like a powerhouse Hobbs from AEW, then there's no need for a bad luck Fale
Yeah.
because powerhouse Hobbs would automatically fill the enforcer role. That's another thing too with factions. It's about roles. It's not about how much talent you have. It's about the talent you have, but it's also about the roles that they fulfill. So it's like if you have a powerhouse Hobbs who is the enforcer, you don't want to get like 2 to 3 other big guys unless you're trying to form a tag team, right? But I don't think that they would want to do that. Um, but I do believe that they could thrive. I think that if this were to be, I feel like you said, this would actually be perfect for AEW because it seems like MVP and Bobby kind of have a vision of what they know, what they want to do, and I feel like Tony Khan would allow them to be that. But you know, we'll see what happens with that. But let us know about how you feel about the Hurt Syndicate, the Hurt Business, whatever you want to call them. Let us know in the comments below. But we're going to be moving on because speaking of AEW, Tony Khan was recently interviewed. He believes that contract tampering with WWE is still happening. Even Triple H, I think there was a quote posted from Tony Khan saying that he's going to reserve the right to talk about it now, but he does believe that the contract tampering is still happening, and Hunter liked the post, um, which is crazy. But do you believe that there is a contract tampering situation going on with WWE, or do you think it's something else as to why talent is leaving AEW or wanting to leave AEW to go to WWE?
I think contracts in wrestling is stupid anyway because they're 1099 workers. You independent contractors, so it's like it's essentially you're just a handshake agreement. If you think about the contract, if you're a 1099 worker, I'm not really with the company. I can be let go at any time, like they do before, like they've
Mm-hmm.
done before. As far as him tampering, I mean, yeah, you got some talent. Again, you got 98% of talent over there that you don't use. It's few in between, but it's a few guys over there I'm looking at come through because you're not doing anything with them. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't be upset if you getting a competitive edge or the competition is getting a competitive edge over you for some guys that they see or in women that they see fit to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, put them on TV. It's the same thing I just said with the Hurt Syndicate. You're instantly going to have the best thing in pro wrestling, but then you might have Chris Jericho hating ass getting in your ear like, no, don't give them TV time. Let me make my 20th faction. Hell, he might want to be in the Hurt Syndicate, knowing him. But I think, for the most part, it's fine because it's not like this the NBA. This is, no disrespect. This is pro wrestling. It
Yeah.
is real, but it's fake, brother.
Heavy on that. I also think that I'm going to say this. I believe that there may be some contract tampering involved, right? Who's to say that it isn't true? I'm not on the inside. I don't think anyone really who can speak on it really knows. But I feel like there needs to also be some sense of personal accountability here, right? When you got when part of the reason why people jump from company to company is because there's the presentation of the other company being better than the company that they currently work in, right? And 9 times out of 10, if they can get an edge, if they can get one up, if the presentation of one thing is better than reality of another, then shouldn't we also be questioning the reality? Right? If Cats was doing their job and including the talent that they should be including on their programming, they wouldn't be tempted to go anywhere else because they're good. Like there are AEW talents that are like, I'm not going to WWE because I'm good where I'm at. Like I'm straight where I'm at because where I'm at, it works for me. It works for where I am in my career. Whoop de whoop de whoop. Right? And I'm pretty sure that WWE wants maybe a couple of those talents. But also, when you have a guy like Ethan Page, who you're not effectively using, of course he's going to jump to NXT. Of course. And he's the NXT champion and he's presented as a main eventer. And then when you have guys like Ethan Page and Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears and Jade Cargill, like this is the reason why you have to be conscious of who you treat and who you mistreat. Because the reality is that people aren't loyal. In 2024, this is not just a business thing, this is a people thing. In 2024, people are more loyal to people than they are to companies. We know what capitalism is all about. We know that at the end of the day, these companies are going to drop us like a sack of dirt if it means improving their bottom line. So if Cat's Friends is over there, yes, I'm going. I don't need Hunter to tamper with my contract to tell me that. So yes, if so, I think that yes, is the contract tampering a thing? Is it an element? Absolutely. But you also have to take accountability. Maybe I shouldn't have treated this person like this. Maybe I actually should have given this person the bag that they actually asked for. Because if you did, other talents that were loyal to those talents who you treated or mistreated a certain way, they wouldn't be tempted to go. So but like, and then on top of that, bro, this is what you wanted, Tony. You wanted static. You wanted smoke. You wanted a war. And the last thing that and I feel like a lot of these cats, they don't know what they're in for. Triple H, you can call him what he wants. He's been in a war before. He's been in a shootout before. And you trying to spin the block on a trained shooter. That's not wisdom, bro. That's not wisdom. And you doing it for I don't know what. Maybe you're just feeling yourself. Maybe people are in your ear telling you what you should and shouldn't do. But yo, the Hunter and Shawn and the guys at WWE, they've been in the position in a war position before, and they know how to react. They're not new to this. You are. So don't throw shots and go on interviews saying, "Oh, well, they're the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling," and then when cats take your talent, then you want to play the victim. No. Shoot back. If you want to smoke, shoot back. But that's the contract tampering thing. But I want to know how everybody else feels about WWE. Do you feel like they're contract tampering with AEW? Let us know in the comments below. But we're moving on because AEW also announced AEW All in Texas in a press conference this past week at the Globe Life Field. They announced that AEW will be bringing All In to Texas in 2025. I believe the day is July 12th. There were rumors about AEW doing a stadium show in the Arlington area. Obviously, people like me assume AT&T Stadium. And they even did something at the Esports Coliseum with AEW Collision for their summer series. But it looks like their stadium show is all in 2025 at the Globe Life Field. For those of you who are not aware, Globe Life Field is the home of the Texas Rangers. It is a 40,000-seater stadium, and it is also in the Dallas and or Arlington area. With that being said, I want to know how you feel about this. Do you believe that AEW is in over their head? Or do you believe that they're gonna shock the world and they're gonna do some numbers in Texas?
Are they gonna get 41,000 people in there when they only gonna have 1,000 at their show? That's my biggest question. And number two, this would be their last all out that they'll ever have because again, where's the TV deal? So he just don't care about a TV deal. He already said the names of not Bob Iger, but forgot the CEO there, David something. But regardless, it's like, dude, like you ain't got a TV deal, but you announcing the show for a stadium that you not gonna even get halfway filled. Hey man, I respect it. You know what? I think he's a good kid. Even I'm calling him a kid, like he's not older than me. I think he's a good dude. I think he means well. He just don't understand like the concept of strategy, so to speak. And this is coming from a numbers guy. He's very analytical, but he doesn't understand the concept of war, probably. Because in his mind, it's a war. Triple H said years ago, it's no war. It is no competition. Shouts out to Fab. It's no competition between the two companies because one of them is sold for $11 billion, and that was just for one deal. Their development show is about to be on CW Network. That's Warner Brothers right there. Uh, Netflix. I can keep going. SmackDown about to go to USA. It's like, dude, it's over. That's three TV deals right there. Where's y'all one TV deal? So
One.
just one.
One.
That's what we asking for. We ain't asking you to get three. So, but shouts out to them. Collision actually sold out in Dallas at the convention center out by Arlington. I mean Wilson, Arlington, but it's right by the Cowboy Stadium. So shouts out to them for selling that out. But I looked at the match card and I'm like, I guess. So that was a clear sign that they do have fans in Texas, which they do. But dude, if you do this show, you got to go, pun intended, all out, I guess, pause. You got to bring in ROH talent. You better call Mexico. You had that deal. You better go New Japan because you can't just do it with the the AEW talent alone because it's not that much AEW talent that's over.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Obviously, 40,000 is a big step. 40,000 to 100,000 is a very, very big difference when comparing Globe Life and AT&T. So I'm glad that they decided to go a more reasonable route as far as the venue that they're using. And I actually hope that they do really, really well. Like part of the argument you could say is like, hey, we didn't think they would be able to do 10,000 for All In the first one, and they were able to do it. And then they were able to take it to London, and they were able to be successful there. However, I do believe that the dynamics are a little bit different. Obviously, their Wembley show, it was the first time they had done something like that of that magnitude, especially in London. We know that the UK is a very, very hot wrestling crowd. We know that they are very, very they're very, very passionate, and that they will, no pun intended, they'll go all in for some wrestling. I also feel like, in addition to the fact that they wanted to see a big wrestling stadium show, in addition to the fact that they wanted to see AEW in London, those fans have been wanting WrestleMania for years. And I feel like a lot of those fans wanted to prove to the powers that be that this is a town that you can have WrestleMania in, because look at what we just did for AEW. So I feel like that was also part of the psychology behind it. I feel like this isn't, like you said, like, how are you going to fill 40,000 when at the current moment you can't, fill up half of an arena, half of a 10,000 seater at that. I believe that when it comes to AEW, the novelty of new has worn off. And it's like, while there are certain principles that made AEW a hub and a place that wrestlers wanted to come, at the same time, not everyone deserves creative control, and not everyone deserves free reign. And I feel like because they are clinging to certain things, it's tampering the quality of the product, and it's one of the reasons why the attendance is down. So I honestly don't know what to expect from this show. But like you said, they need to go all in, and the build for that starts now. So we'll see what happens, but I want to know how everybody else feels as it pertains to AEW All In heading to Arlington, Texas, Globe Life Field, July 12th. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really want to see them do well, but let me know in the comments below. But we're moving on to our little predictions, because AEW All In, we have like a couple weekends of wrestling that are going to be pretty intense, because we have All In, and then we also have Bash in Berlin the following week. But let's start with our All In predictions. So for the 0 hour, we have Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii versus Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway. I believe that the winners of this match will be able to determine the stipulation for the match at All Out. So, do you have Team Willow? Do you have Team Chris?
Team Chris.
Then we have I have Team Willow as well. So now we have the Casino Gauntlet match. They haven't announced all the competitors, but Orange Cassidy is involved. I feel like he's gonna win. He's like Mr. Gauntlet at this point. So
yeah, he's due for a title shot at this point as well. So
I agree. Now we have the FTW Championship match. If Hook loses, he cannot challenge Jericho for the FTW title again. This is going to be Chris Jericho versus Hook. Who do you have in this match?
Bruh, again, they doing it just like
again, bro. Again.
I guess Hook.
I'm going to go with Hook as well. Now we're moving on to the AEW Trios Championship match. We have the Patriarchy versus the Bang Bang Gang versus the House of Black. Bang Bang Gang is a crazy name for a faction, but
yeah, no, that's crazy.
Nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you have?
I say the names again. You said the House of Negroes.
House of Black.
Like Graham called them. The House niggas.
That's crazy.
That's what Graham called them. Public Enemy, my brother. He called them that. Versus who? My fault. Who again?
Patriarchy versus Bang Bang Gang versus House of Black.
Patriarchy?
Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus.
Yeah, but Christian Cage be wearing the titles by himself.
By himself, yeah.
That's I didn't know that was their name, though. They got 20,000 factions. Probably the Bang Bang dudes, just because the House niggas, one of them about to get up out of there whenever he might do some black magic to get up out of there, being Aleister Black. So yeah, I'm going with the Bang Bang Gang. Pause.
I'm gonna go with the gang. I'm gonna go with the Bang Bang Gang as well. The whole situation was that the Bang Bang Gang had to vacate their titles due to the fact that Jay White was injured. Jay White is reportedly coming back. So I feel like as a result of him coming back, they're going to win those titles again. So I'm going to go with Bang Bang Gang. The next match is for the AEW TNT Championship, and it is going to be in a coffin match. Jack Perry versus Darby Allin. Who do you have?
Darby.
Same. I got Darby as well. I don't think that needs much emphasis. Now we have the AEW TBS Championship match between Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. Who do you have?
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go first before I talk about what I'm gonna say.
I think Britt is gonna win.
There you go.
I think Britt.
Politics as usual. Then you already know what's gonna happen. Old girl gonna go take a break for 6 months.
Who, Mercedes?
And do that mysterious shit that she be doing. She cut her hair off and be crying, and I come back as a butterfly. She gonna do all that. Trust me. Britt Baker, hey, that's Hulk Hogan in 2011, brother. It's her company. We just watch.
2011 Hogan is crazy, but I'm gonna go with Britt Baker. Yeah. Then we have the AEW American Championship match, MJF versus Will Ospreay.
It's whatever MJF want to do. He's the second owner in the company, so if he decide he want to keep that title and say something offensive and be trash like he's been the past couple months, then it's up to him. But I should say Will Ospreay, but it's gonna be MJF because again, they tell Tony Khan what to do.
I'm gonna go with MJF as well. I just have a feeling that it's gonna be MJF. The next match that we have is for the AEW. I'm excited for this actually. AEW Women's World Championship match: Toni Storm versus Mariah May.
Toni Storm.
I got Mariah.
Okay.
I got Mariah. I think that this is Mariah's payoff. I think that this is actually one of the best told stories that AEW has had over the past year. I think that even though it is a predictable payoff, I think that Mariah is going to win in the UK. Yeah, that's just kind of where I stand on it. And now for the AEW World Title versus Career match, we have Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson.
I'm going Daniel Bryan.
I am too. I don't think he's done just yet. I think that they're gonna have him hold the title until he decides he wants to retire. And I think that's the way to go. When you have a guy like Bryan Danielson on your roster, who has been a great talent for them, a great pickup for them, has had really good matches, really good person backstage. Like, if he's one of those whatever I say goes type things, let him do it. He deserves it. I feel like Bryan deserves it. And I feel like a Bryan Danielson world title win is long overdue. So I'm going to go with Bryan Danielson on that one. But that concludes our AEW All-In 2024 predictions in London, live from Wembley Stadium, where we got to get up at the booty crack of dawn just to watch the entire show. I probably am going to be, since I'm in New York, I'm probably going to go to Legends and watch that. But yeah, let us know if you agree or disagree with our predictions in the comments below. However, that concludes our show for today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in and tapping in. Next week, we're going to be giving our Bash at the Berlin predictions, along with some other things. So I'm really, really excited about that. Thank y'all so much. And we'll see y'all next week. The freaking cat salute is crazy.